Hi guys, Dave Patterson back here with the Fit Lot Guild, and we're going to get this timeline thing together. We haven't quite nailed it yet. We're still a few weeks behind in our submissions of new content, but we promise to bring you this particular episode, and so we're going to do that today. And this episode has to do with 5 prominent individuals who were former atheists or agnostics, and after their examination of the Gospels and the claims of Jesus Christ, his life, death, burial, and resurrection, and his gospel, after they understood what it meant and they did their research in terms of the verity of the gospel, they became Christians. And I think this is very important because there are a lot of people that say that they're agnostic or that they're atheists, but they don't do the work to examine the faith. They just either parrot what they've heard, or they'll use a adage from years gone by, which is anything from a good God would not allow the pain and suffering in the world, or he wouldn't allow evil, or any of the myriad of things that they say to let man off the hook in terms of him being given choice by God and choosing the wrong things. And since sin does not operate in a vacuum, when sinful men do sinful things, especially those who have earthly controls and powers and occupy places of influence, when they do things that are against the Word of God, many people get hurt. Sometimes people even get killed because they've chosen to go their own way. And that is because they've been given choice and they choose the wrong things. But it has nothing to do with whether or not God is a good God or a loving God. It's men's choices. And so we're going to start this with an individual that's actually very noteworthy and world renowned, but a lot of people don't know his name. His name is Sir Lionel Luckhoo. He was a defense attorney for many years in England, and he was probably the most prolific defense lawyer that ever lived. He was in the Guinness Book of World Records for winning 247 consecutive cases, either on initial trial or subsequent appeal. That has never been done before, nothing even close to that. And so he was in the Guinness Book of World Records because of that. He was also knighted twice by Queen Elizabeth. And he was an atheist. And one day, someone challenged him in a way that he couldn't refuse. They said, "Mr. Luckhoo, you're the greatest defense attorney of all time. Have you ever used your expertise and your acumen with respect to your legal knowledge? Have you ever used that to truly investigate the claims of Jesus Christ?" And he said, "No, I haven't, but I will." And he did. And after his evaluations, he made this declaration to a worldwide audience, no less. He said, and I quote, "The bones of Muhammad are in Medina. The bones of Confucius are in Shantung. The cremated bones of Buddha are in Nepal. Thousands pay pilgrimages to worship at their tombs, which contain their bones. But in Jerusalem, there is a cave cut into a rock. This is the tomb of Jesus, and it is empty. Yes, empty, because he is risen. He died physically and historically. He arose from the dead and now sits at the right hand of God. This is from the mouth of Lionel Luckhoo, the greatest defense attorney ever, who was at one time an atheist and became a Christian after he did his due diligence in terms of researching the claims of Christ, his deity, his gospel, his resurrection. Next, we have Christian apologist Josh McDowell. And Josh is a pretty prolific author, but he was a confessed agnostic until he purposed to write a paper in college that he was certain would disprove Christianity, and he came to find out just the opposite. To his amazement, his research proved the validity of Christianity, and he became a Christian as a result of that. Josh has written over 150 books about the verity of the Gospels and the reliance that we can rely on the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ as being God's way to reconcile mankind to himself. Josh has a Master of Divinity degree from Biola University, and he graduated magna cum laude. So these are very intelligent, very well-educated, very learned people who at one time were either agnostic or atheist and became Christians as a result of investigating the claims instead of accepting what other people are saying or parroting someone else. Third, we have a rather fascinating individual. His name is Ralph Muncaster. Ralph Muncaster holds a BS in engineering and is a former hardcore atheist who, as Luckhoo was challenged by, in this case, a Christian colleague to research the claims of Christ's deity and resurrection. Now, Muncaster accepted this challenge, believing he could actually disprove Christianity in a matter of weeks, perhaps a month at the outside. And in actuality, Ralph Muncaster labored for 15 years as he poured through the Gospels, he poured through the Scriptures, he poured through a myriad of historical data and other non-biblical texts to form what became his resolute diagnosis that Christianity was valid. And he too became a Christian because of it. He, because of his research, declared that Christianity is much, much more likely to be true than not. And he has interviewed many, many other atheists to get their opinions. But he was convinced of the verity of the gospel. Was something that he believed would take weeks and a month at the outside took 15 years because he was determined to find out. And of course, he was initially determined to disprove Christianity, but the deeper he delved into it, the more he found out that the Christian faith was very real. Next, we have renowned journalist Lee Strobel. Now, Lee was a staunch atheist prior to doing his investigation of Christianity. And he did his investigation spurred by his wife's conversion to Christianity, because they were both atheists at one time. And so Lee did his due diligence. And after much research, Strobel was finally convinced that the claims of Christ were true, and he became a Christian at the age of 29. Now, that's pretty young, but that means that for most or all of his 20s, and probably for a good portion of his late teens, he was an atheist. And so there's a lot to be said for people who actually do the investigative process and actually do endeavor to really find out if the claims of Christ are true. And many of them that do the work find out that the claims of Christ are very true. Last but certainly not least is a name that you will probably recognize. And if you don't recognize his name, you will recognize his work. It's a man by the name of C.S. Lewis. Now, C.S. Lewis abandoned his Christian roots in his 20s. And it wasn't until having numerous conversations with his good friend J.R.R.R. Tolkien that Lewis returned to his Christian roots, and we are so glad he did. C.S. Lewis delved into many Eastern religions and even into the occult for a while, and we are so happy that the Lord pulled him out of those strangleholds by virtue of his friendship with Tolkien. When he did return, he proceeded to produce some of the finest fiction and nonfiction Christian-based content of his time. For those that are not yet connecting the name with the work, Lewis is, of course, responsible for bringing us fiction classics like The Chronicles of Narnia, which was extremely popular, as well as the Screw Tape Letters. His nonfiction contributions include the classic Mere Christianity. So he has brought some really important work, both fiction and nonfiction, to the Christian world, and we are so thankful to the Lord for his contributions. So that's it. Those are the 5. We may add more to this list at another time, but we wanted to get this content out to you, and we'll be back probably within a couple of weeks. We're going to keep pushing the envelope to make sure we get this content out in a timely manner. In the meantime, we'll do what we always do. Remain humble, be genuine, and let Yeshua illuminate your path. Thank you guys so much for your time. Appreciate it. God bless you.